Hi, I'm Rick Lawrence, and I am doing these videos as a way of telling stories about my life while I hike. It actually is a pretty good deal to do that. It keeps me busy, and anyway, I'm Rick Lawrence. There we go, there we are. Now, some of these stories I'm about to tell you are actually, they're tragic. And we all have tragic. We all have those tragic stories in our life. Some are worse than others, but we all have them, and it's what molds us into who we are. But I've told a number of people some of these stories, and they told me that I ought to write a book. So instead of sitting down and writing, which many of us probably don't like to do, I instead figured if I do a video, it'd be a little better. So this episode is titled My Mom. All right. My mom blamed me the entire time I knew her until her death for her failed marriage to my dad and the birth of my half-sister. That's right. I was 4 years old. Now, just real fast, I want you to understand that I have a great memory. I remember things when I was a little kid from the 60s. I remember things in the 70s. It is so ironic. I can't get these memories out of my mind, which is probably why I have so many stories I can tell. I don't know. But I was 4 years old. And what does a 4-year-old boy do? Well, he plays. At that time, you watch cartoons on TV. You eat, you sleep, and you go to the bathroom. That's about all that a 4-year-old does. Well, I went into the bathroom after watching cartoons, probably during a commercial. That part I don't remember. But on the back of the toilet, I noticed a pink round thing. And I picked it up while I'm doing my business. And I noticed it had something that turned. So I was just rotating it, evidently. And then all of a sudden, all these pills fell out right in the toilet. Now, I didn't know what it was at that time. I mean, we all know now what that was. That was a birth control device, birth control pills. And this was in the, this was about 1966. So anyway, I put it back on the back of the seat, finished. I was a little scared and like that, but I didn't know what it was. But I ended up finishing and going in back to watch cartoons. Well, a little time after, I heard my mom come out of the bathroom, and she started screaming and yelling at me. Rick Lawrence, Rick Lawrence. Oh, and she was gritting her teeth, yelling at my name. She came over, she started beating me. I didn't know what was going on. And then I do remember this. She picked me up and she threw me down the hall. Now the hallway, as a kid, it felt like it was a mile long, but it was probably only about 10 feet long at the most, I would imagine. But I felt like a bowling ball, I guess, being thrown down that hallway. I remember hitting the side of the wall and then the end where it teed to go left or right. She was mad, and I didn't know. And she was just, well, ended up being, my mother got pregnant. And it was not my dad's. Now, I got some more of this part of the story from my dad later on in my life. But she blamed me. Let me just tell you this. She blamed me all that time for the birth of my half-sister, for the failed marriage. I was no good. Well, they split up and everything. But then my mother tried taking my dad to court, according to my dad, and ended up, because she wanted him to pay for the child support. Well, ended up being that she's in court, my dad's in court, and now this is all hearsay. This is what my dad told me. And my dad said that he told the judge, well, Your Honor, I can't be the father. And my mother kept saying, he is the father, he is the father. And my dad handed the bailiff some papers, and then he says, what my ex-wife seems to forget is that I had a vasectomy after Rick was born. And at that point, my dad told me that my mom she gasped. And she was like, oh no, and covered her mouth, and I forgot. So my dad won. He won the case. And went on. Well, my mother ended up, and this is a big story. I mean, she moved in with, let's call him Tim. And Tim, though, at that time, he was married already. And he was living with his wife when he was having an affair with my mother. And he got my mother pregnant. And then 6 months later, he got his wife pregnant. Think about that. Oh, what a mess. And anyway, he divorced his wife. My mom and Tim moved in together. And then they eventually got married, but we're talking about 10 or 12 years later. And of course, my half-sister was born. But my mom and I had a strained relationship her entire life. She blamed me, was never close to me. She was close to my sisters, but I ruined it for her. She had it going, she had it made. And anyway, so she treated me differently. And I was crap. I was nothing to her.